How about today is all about how to thrive in your business, how to stop struggling without wasting any more time in the day, not knowing what you want to do. So today I thought on Coffee with Shanda, first of all, good morning, good morning, good morning. And I am drinking a raspberry leaf tea. And so hi you guys on Instagram. Welcome to 6 a.m. Coffee with Shanda. Hi Carla, hi Julie. Hi, the amazing hundreds of people who are joining the line on Facebook. Love you guys. So I wanted to just do Q&A today. And it's Q&A around your business or your life. So obviously I've done a ton of personal development to figure out how to run my life as a mom, as a businesswoman, as a multimillionaire. I've also had to really structure what I focus on, how I focus on it so that I don't get overwhelmed. So I want to help you with any of that information. So we'll be here for about 20 minutes this morning. Think right now, what would be the one thing or what is the one thing that you're really struggling with in your life or your business that I could give you some insight on? And then go ahead and just in the chat or in the thread comment section, just go ahead and ask me that question. And let's do some amazing work today. My intention is, and the prayer of my heart is that the Holy Spirit and God comes in and I give you exactly what you need today. Either somebody else asked the question if you're not brave enough to ask it, or somehow it just comes out of me that today ends up being a ridiculously powerful, productive day for you. So go up and let's get a few more people on the Facebook thread and hit share really quick. So we make a difference in the world. Just hit share and then ask me your question. All right. Hey, Judy. Hey, Denise. Hey, Kim, I'll get started. We got a couple more people on the line, so go hit share. Kimberly Brown, how are you? Suzanne, how are you? Holly. Okay, Crystal. I love talking business, especially with Curtis. What's the best advice you have about boundaries with Ash? So Crystal is married to a man by the name of Curtis, so everybody knows, and she's asking, how do I have boundaries with talking business with my husband, Ash? I'm very careful. I'm very careful. He, first of all, he's a man, and I think that it takes a very strong man to take advice from his wife or his girlfriend or his fiance. I think it's also a very quick way to neutralize a relationship. Is to give coaching or advice to your spouse, to your partner. And so it's so funny how you can tell them something and then, somebody else can tell them the exact same thing and they take it. And Ash always says that to me. He'll be like, I told you that same advice like last month and you never heard me. So it's not just Ash is not the only problem. I'm the problem too, meaning that it's just hard to do that both ways. So when first of all, most people know I have a rule that I got from Craig Ballantyne from A Perfect Day Formula, and which is a book you can get. And I have a rule in my life, and the rule is that I don't speak business after 4. Really, it's actually after 5, but I like to keep buffers in my life, so I just tell myself it's 4. And when it comes to business, I like to set aside specific time for Ash when he wants it. So for instance, I just spent some time in Los Angeles yesterday, and I basically was there all day, and I was working on systems inside my company. And one of my motivations was to free up some more time to go over and help with the marketing efforts of Hypers. And that's my husband's company. And I believe in the product. I drink the product. It's the healthiest electrolyte product on the market. If you want to feel energy without coffee, without the crash, and you want to get great B vitamins, and really feel hydrated instead of drinking water all day long, High Burst is a great product. However, I'm very good at marketing and reach, and he's very good at building great products. And so as a team, we work really well together. So I was actually working on freeing up an extra day a week, an extra day a week, to go and spend time over at their headquarters and help with that reach. So Crystal, you can see that is like, it's focused, it's concentrated. I set up the context and say, hey, I'm coming in under this agreement, and this is what my expectations are. I'll do something called an impact filter. which is something that I learned from Dan Sullivan, who I've taught our marketing mastery clients how to do this. And I do everything by it. And it basically sets up a priority list of what does this look like when it's completed so that everybody's on the same page of what my expectations are. So just like anybody, I'm not interested in, I don't want to go give my time and not have a result from it, right? Hi from Spain, Elena, that's awesome. You want to put your time in places that you're going to get the most effort, you're going to get the most bang for your buck. I mean, that's just called fulfillment. Right? Like we get to be fulfilled, and to be fulfilled, it means that when we give our time, which is our most precious, valuable asset in the world, when we give our time, that it really needs to be received and something great needs to come of it. From England too, my Instagram people, you guys are awesome. I love where you're tuning in from. So with all of that being said, Crystal, basically what I do is I set the context of what my expectation is. I find out what his expectation is, and I deliver on it with the biggest smile that I can, because that really helps him absorb the information. I also spend a lot of time edifying the parts of him that I actually think is powerful, and I build that up just like I do in any of my coaching clients. Awesome. Julie Surratt, Crystal, we're on the same page. Hopefully that helped both you ladies. And Julie, you're bringing this to mind for me right now. One of the things I really battled with in all of my relationships before I shifted this before Ash, but I used to feel very compelled that the man I was with was getting it, right? Was getting it. And if I look back in all of my history, every man that I've done personal development with, every man that I've gone to a seminar with, every man that I've read a book with, every man that I've done anything personal development wise, I mean, I used to always be spending a lot of time watching to see if they're getting it. And then I would spend time getting over them and hovering over them and making sure they're getting it. And the problem with that is that nobody likes to be micromanaged. Nobody likes to be controlled. And that's a very, very controlling attitude that is showing up in lots of different areas of your life that's stealing your peace. And where most people will merge to your strength and they won't ever say anything to you. This really is an inauthentic world. And I mean that with so much love. Just think about the last time you thought something about someone that they're doing that is costing them either friendships or money or love, and you never said anything to them because it wasn't your place, right? That's inauthentic, right? You allowed somebody to suffer versus taking a stand for them and landing with your coaching or advice in a way that they could hear you so that they could transform for the sake of looking good or being liked, right? So this is a very inauthentic world. So often we work our way through life, and our ways of being, people never tell us about them. They either just go away or they just merge because it's not worth the fight, right? And so when you get into a relationship, you really get to see who you are, because the mirror is the person standing in front of you. And are they smiling most of the time, or are they in breakdown most of the time? If they're in breakdown most of the time, you really honestly have to stop saying it's all about them, unless they're beating you. You know what I mean? Like they're beating you up and you're really getting like attacked that way. I even think emotional beat up a lot of times is self-inflicted. Now, don't get mad at me. I do get that some people are getting emotionally abused. I understand that. But I actually think sometimes they're emotional triggers that we could do things a little bit differently that wouldn't cause that reaction in someone, right? So just something to think about. Okay, so next question, business or life? If you got a question, I love that you guys are posting a perfect day formula book. That's great. Craig's amazing. I'm not getting calls booked on my lead gen emails. I do when I use successful swipes, but not when I write my own. How can I figure out how to tweak my emails and get calls booked? So, Holly, a couple things. So, I actually hired a copywriter to train me. And so, and even today, and even some of my friends, so just so everybody knows what she's talking about, Holly's talking about when we write emails or we write copy that we want to create a movement. We want somebody to buy from this copy that we're writing, right? This message that we're writing, even trying to figure out what the message is. You can never 100% outsource that. So we have a copywriter on staff, Michelle PW. We love her. But Michelle PW will never create a positioning like I will or like you will. In other words, it's really smart for you to really learn copy. Like, go get books on human behavior, positioning. Read the Bible. Honest to God, the Bible is incredible at teaching you how to position a message that creates a movement, because it talks all in stories. So there's parables, which are basically stories, right? The parables are like, look, so I'm not saying you got to read like for 500 pages in the Bible. The cool thing about the Bible is it's written in these little snippets. And these little snippets are the most powerful little snippets. Go find one, like Google, like the top 20 or the top 40 most inspirational stories in the Bible. And there's got to be something on Google that shares that, right? And then take those stories, print them out, and make a commitment to go study all those 20 stories, right? And ask yourself, like, why am I so motivated right now? Right? Like, and it's storytelling, right? So in every great story, there's like, somebody really wants something, like Jesus really wants something, or the people really want something, and then, and they're out there and they're trying to, it's the journey. It's the journey to try and get what you want in life. And when you start to think in service space, like instead of like, how do I get people to buy, or how do I get people to even transform, right? Like, it's such a small tweak in your focus, but more about what's the story. Like, if you got to get intimate with it, right? Like, so what did this character, or what did I want, or what did this person I've worked with, what did they want, right? And then what's the backstory of like why they wanted that, right? And that, like, because that's important. You have to know, like, so if I just started this Facebook Live and just started talking about a business strategy, you'd all be like, huh? Like, what the heck is she talking about? I need to share, like, I mean, one of the reasons why probably the most compelling reason why I actually own Hardcore Business and really went on the pursuit of financial freedom was honestly because I never had any security in my life. When I was a little girl, my mom worked from 9 o'clock in the morning until 9 o'clock at night. And when she wasn't working, she was trying to be a mom, or she was trying to, because she was so young, spend time with her friends. And so I never felt secure because we were always moving from house to house to house. And my mom would have boyfriends for like 7 years, and then they'd break up, and then there would be another boyfriend. And so there was never really any security in my life. And then I didn't meet my dad until I was in grade 6. And when I met my dad, he was super wealthy, super rich, and we got to do really awesome things together and ride in limousines and go to Disneyland. And I felt like all of a sudden I had a family with my stepmom and my dad, right? But then, even when I went through that life with my dad, and I lived with him in high school, junior high and high school, and then the beginning of college, my dad started to lose all of his money. And he started to lose all of his money, which I thought was secure, this incredible lifestyle he had his entire life. And my grandmother died, and my dad lost his confidence. And I realized, wow, like, your mindset can shift like that, and you could go from up here to down here. And then all of a sudden, what I thought was my secure family again that I fell in love with. Have you ever given your heart to something, whether it's business or anything, and you're like, oh my God, this is what I wanted, like even a message or an idea, like this is it. This is it for me. This is what I'm going to spend my whole life being, in this amazing state of joy and happiness and overflow. And then having that ripped away from you. And that's what happened when my dad lost all of his money again. And I felt shame and embarrassment. And then I went off and I moved to the United States of America, and I thought I would start a new life for myself. And I go to UNLV, and I would be a great businesswoman and I would make tons of money, and I got into school and I bombed. I sucked. And so I constantly have this realization of like peaks and dips and peaks and dips. And what I've learned over my life is that nothing is really secure. There's no idea, there's no business, there's no relationship. Like, I've learned this in my life, that nothing is really secure. And so I chased a lot of things that I thought would create security, which one was money. And when I realized that my security laid in God, when I started serving God and my prayer of my heart started to be, how can I serve people? How can I serve people? Like, God, I just want to serve people. Like, I get it. I get it that all of this stuff is not real. I get it. I've read the books. I've drank the Kool-Aid. I've done everything. I get it. Like, I've worked with shamans. Like, I get that every spiritual thing that I try and do to get, I never ever get for very long. It gets taken away from me. And that if I was just to dedicate my life, and it was an aha moment for me, it was a complete epiphany. I was like, if I was to just dedicate my life to doing your work on what you thought I should do, which the message that I was given very clearly for almost 2 hours in a car was that I was to teach financial freedom to people. To regular, everyday people. I was supposed to go into their homes and fix that piece. And I was supposed to become a great leader in this area, and it was all about that. And I never wanted to do that. I never felt good enough. I never felt like I could learn how to be an author and a speaker. I was scared to death to get up on stages or do videos like this. Right? So this is a story. And it's got highs and it's got lows. And I'm the character. And so Holly and everybody else, like, really, if you just stop and get emotional, because you know what my main reason for building a business and chasing money for, or was for, the hole and the gap that I was trying to solve in my life, was the feeling of being alone. I was trying to not feel alone anymore. Right? Now, if I really build out this story, which is all true, I could easily, and some people are watching right now and you know my story because you're it, or you have some variation of it. And if you're still sitting there struggling today, not knowing what do I do next, spinning your wheels, you're busy and you're looking at the computer, but like nothing's getting done. There's no money in your bank account at the end of today. Like, there's nothing in the bank account at the end of today. Then you should be reaching out to get some business coaching. You should be sending me a private message right now. Because nothing gets better alone. You've hit snooze on the alarm clock 1 million times and let yourself down. You've gotten excited and then realize that, oh, that's not it when you hit a hard moment. You've started many, many things, but you've never had what it's taken to go all the way. And the truth is that's not your fault. It's not your fault. You just haven't gotten the right plan. You haven't gotten the right simplified plan that can get you ahead fast. And I see people struggling around this day in and day out, spending thousands of dollars on coaching, messaging, branding, and they don't have the fundamental basics set up in their business to just put money in the bank account today. Right? So that's the type of storyline that you've got to be thinking of when you're writing emails, messaging, video. Far too many people get on video and they start teaching about things that they think that their audience wants, and they start giving advice. Stop on the advice for a second and go back to the story that proves the advice. If you go back to the story that proves the advice, you will create movements, and the Bible does this incredibly well. So even if you're not Christian, or even if you're not Jewish, or whatever it is that your religion is, go back and read the Bibles. I'm very big on non-denominational Christian, right? I find that a really great text for me. But I also believe personally, I mean, I know this is probably against the Christian religion. I've been studying Christianity for I don't know how many years now. But, I actually think that God created multiple different religions to create a structure for us to whatever it is that we believe, like really believe, because whatever you believe, I did a Facebook Live on this not too long ago. When you believe in something, you will do it. And procrastination, perfectionism, and all the things that you spend tons of time beating yourself up on, or a lot of time in personal development trying to overcome, those things go away when you just believe. And so there's a power to being religious. There just is. But there's this really bad reputation on it. And even the Bible talks about the bad reputation on that, right? But so if nothing else, just go study the scripture and see how they move you. And that is an incredible, if you listen to the top gurus teaching things, they're always referencing where they learned. Wayne Dyer learned from the Tao Te Ching and the Bible constantly and was referencing it constantly, right? And there's a reason for that. We influencers study how to create a movement. We don't want a sale. We don't want a sale. We want a ripple effect in the world that not only creates an overflow for us and an overflow for our families, but we want to create an overflow of impact because that's what excites us. Because eventually when you can afford the car, the house, the vacations, another new car, it's exciting for about 3 weeks, and then the new car smell goes away. And then that's where problems start if you're not connected to something greater than yourself. So I hope this was helpful. I'm going to end there. I like to keep these coffees with Shanda at about 20 minutes. So I will be on tomorrow morning, and then we will be off on the weekends. I will say that I've got some really cool interviews coming up. Next Tuesday, I've got the ladies who own Grace by Grit. I just think it's powerful to see how women created a brand that became a movement. What were the trials and tribulations in marketing that they had to overcome to get their product in more people's hands, especially as a brick and mortar, right? What have they been doing? What are they doing virtually to be able to get their product in the hands of people, right? So just the mindset, I think, is inspirational, and it has us look up and do things a little bit differently. I also was talking with a man that's going to come on. He owns a department store called Fields. Have you ever heard of Fields? Fields is a Canadian department store. I'm from Canada, so it really fired me up. It's kind of like a Dillard's, or it's a big department store. And how he started that department store with $5,000 just 6 years ago. When he bought it, meaning he bought it. The department store's been around for a long time, but he bought it 6 years ago, and he only had $5,000 in his pocket, and he created a miracle. He had to come up with $13 million to buy this in a few short months, and how he did it. So really, really interesting things about where you have to go in your mind to release yourself from pressure to be able to perform and create a miracle inside your business. So next week, make sure that you tap a few friends on the shoulder, make a difference for them, and have them show up live. The early bird gets the worm, which means that when people get out of bed, stop hitting snooze, and show up live, they get better results. So look up and get a few people to come join you on Coffee with Shanda next week, and show up Monday through Friday and get ready to be inspired. Get ready to see money in your bank accounts at the end of the days. All right, you guys, talk soon. God bless.